welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television right now where you, the MSME entrepreneur, get center stage. We bring you expert voices and opinions on every industry and area that matters to you. Tonight, we're bringing you this very special episode on GST. And who better to talk to you, the entrepreneur, about GST, the impact, the changes, how you should prepare for the road ahead than Chandrakant Salunkhe. He's the president of the SME Chamber of India. We have Vishal Thakkar, co-founder, Contractor Universal, and joining us from Delhi, Priyajit Ghosh, partner, Indirect Tax, KPMG. Gentlemen, Mr. Salunkhe, Vishal, Priyajit, thank you all very much for being with us here tonight to talk on GST. It's the most topical that everyone across every industry is talking about, and GST for MSMEs, of course, is going to be a big game changer. Or is it not? And how should they prepare for a post-GST regime? Let me start with you, Mr. Salunkhe. Your one piece of advice for MSMEs about how life is now looking post-GST, how they should be preparing for it.
See, let me first of all give our best wishes to all our SME entrepreneurs from India to enter in new regime, new tax regime, to like a one tax, one India. But particularly looking at the SME point of view, this tax regime will be a little bit difficult and little bit very useful for the SME sector. Particularly those SMEs are facing big problem earlier days to have a white business activities. They will be they have to convert into real business activity now, and most of the SMEs are not using the proper accounting system, proper billing system. Rather they are not keeping the future plans for a turnover base, or I think they have to look at now particularly for how the business will grow, and of course the on paper business should grow.
Sure. Priyajit, let me come to you on that and ask you to respond to what Mr. Salunkhe has said in terms of making MSMEs more compliant. You have to comply, there's no question on that, but will it make this sector then much more organized than what it is now?
Yes, it will be, because if you really look at today's regime, there are multitudes of compliances, as we call them. And with GST coming in, it is one tax and the compliances are all getting standardized.
Sure.
What MSMEs were going to realize over a period of time is it is much better to get into the compliance, take that monkey on the back, as we call it, and take the credit, and it's on the marginal tax that they will end up paying. So it will help to formalize a large section of economy over a period of time, which is today is also because of the fact that they think that it's a big compliance burden under the current regime. So complexities are going to go down, and as the complexities goes down, they're going to be much more competitive than what we are today.
Okay, so the headline then is that the complexity is going to come down, but this also definitely means that there are still a few questions that I guess remain to be answered, and one of those questions is coming to us from our viewer Raja Narsimhan from Pune. Raja, go ahead.
Ours is an e-commerce portal promoting made in India products and services for animals. The success of the e-commerce portal depends on how well the shipping is done. And I'm told that the shipping charge attracts GST of 12%. Assuming there is a product which is being shipped and that attracts a GST rate of 18%, I would like to know whether the shipping charge GST would also attract the same 18%, because that's how we are given to understand.
Vishal, I want to come to you on that. So Raja basically, I presume, is in the e-commerce business. He does run an e-commerce business, and he's talking about the shipping costs which are attached to GST, and that will now be attracted under GST. What would you have to say to him?
So first of all, let me tell you that this is the first time that any taxation regime has identified e-commerce as a different sector altogether.
Is that good news?
Yeah, that is good news. That is good news, because this is the first regulation that is coming to e-commerce as a sector, because erstwhile e-commerce had no formal recognition. Sure. But now here is one government of India which recognizes e-commerce as a sector, and now they are trying to regulate it. So in that case, on the e-commerce service, as he has rightly identified, the tax is 12%. However, the product which is traded on that e-commerce platform could have a different tax rate, maybe 18, 28 or whatever may be the case. But for the e-commerce operator, for the platform service he provides, the rate remains standard. So he really does not have to worry.
So net it is only going to be what is attracted on the e-commerce platform and not necessarily say all the products which are being sold.
Yeah, so here the burden of taxation on product or service is with the seller of the product or service and not necessarily with the e-commerce owner. The e-commerce owner is just supposed to collect the tax for the platform service that he is providing, which is pretty much as the standard rate.
We have another question coming to us from Sushina Reddy. Go ahead.
GST is great. It's going to really make a positive impact. All that is fine. But immediate challenges, especially with some of the toll roads, they have increased the prices, and they have taken an opportunity. GST as an opportunity to increase their price. On top of it, they are also applying the GST taxes. That's where there is a huge price increase. This is my query, and how a government is going to address this.
All right, thanks for that question. What would you have to say to Sushina?
See, when the toll road the taxes is increase, this is a local government's initiative. But particularly when we talk about the price, we are now looking at the price or the rate described by Government of India, particularly for GST point of view. Next 2 months we will be going to keep a track on how much price is increasing, particularly for the manufacturing industry. Because my SME Chamber of India is focusing more on manufacturing, and which is playing very vital role for the economic growth of nation. So we will be focusing on particularly in the industrial product, which is a price is affecting, the cost of the GST is affecting to the industrial product. We will be keeping a track, and after 2 months we will be coming along with some proposals and suggestions to Government of India to reduce the GST tax.
Okay, what is the number one concern your members are telling you about GST, and how are you helping them to sort of understand the changes?
See, the manufacturing industry is very much happy because one tax, one regime, and particularly there is no headache to answer many taxes department. There is no face-to-face interaction with the tax department, and most important, the corruption is going to come down. And here will be not the corruption, and whatever business we are going to do, we are doing online. We are going to submit our invoices online. So it is a benefit to the sector. Only thing is that we should give a knowledge, education, and encourage the SMEs to adopt all these things.
Okay, Vishal, I want you to answer the next question. Let's take in this next query coming to us from Bala Subramaniam. Go ahead, Bala.
I'm a retired Indian Air Force officer, and my query is that the income what I earn is taxed by the government as per my income. The expenditure is also taxed. Both sides we get a double, like in net effect, I'm paying something to the tune of about 55% tax on my money which I earn. What the GST has done is taxing those people who have not been probably paying tax before. The expenditure tax is correct on them. How about giving us income tax relief?
Okay. Bala, thanks for that question. Vishal, what do you have to say to him?
First of all, I would like to appreciate for a retired Indian Air Force officer to come up with a calculation by saying that he is taxed 55% in total, which is very, very close to the real number. So anything greater than 50%, 50-55% is the right answer. Now coming to income tax on shopkeepers, they have an income tax special section where shopkeeper would pay certain percentage of their revenue as straight tax, and they don't have to go into details. However, the truth remains that the salaried individuals would always be the most taxed individuals in the country, simply because for them it's their salary minus the tax, whatever is left is their disposable income, whereas for most business owners it is their revenue minus expenditure, whatever is left is taxed. So because of this basic fundamental difference, a salaried individual will always feel more pinch, and this is true globally, not just in India.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a very quick break at this point, but on the other side, we'll continue taking in your questions that have come to us on GST. Welcome back. You're with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight we're talking GST and how you, the MSME entrepreneur, need to be prepared for this post-GST regime. Just before we took the break, we were talking about how the taxation system now is possibly going to make Indian MSMEs more attractive when we compare ourselves with global peers. Priyajit, I want to come to you on that. Does this now level the playing field for Indian MSMEs, one? And two, also, I want to get your thoughts in terms of whether pricing for domestic MSMEs is necessarily going to see an increase.
So it's going to make them far more competitive than what they are today. So today, if they want to reach out to a customer located outside the state, they have to pay a tax, which is a non-creditable tax. So they can't really reach out to a lot of states beyond what they are located. Now with GST, everything becomes creditable. So it is fairly a level playing field, and this is where the cost of smart labor, the cost of innovation is going to translate into prices.
Okay.
So definitely we will see a level playing field. The other aspect is on the export. So when we export today, because there are certain non-creditable taxes, we export the taxes along with goods. Now with GST coming in, everything becomes creditable and everything becomes zero rated, as we call it. So you get a refund of all the taxes that you paid in India, and you become far more competitive in the global market solely on account of taxes.
Fair enough. Our next query is coming to us from Wing Commander Bhalla. Go ahead, Wing Commander.
I've got one point. See, GST, when we say one tax, one nation. But this is not the case what GST has taught us. GST has got 7 different rates, 0, 5, 10, 18, 24 and 28 and all that. So I want to emphasize that there should be only one rate for one commodity right from Kanyakumari to Srinagar. That is not applicable. That is not what the law says. That is not what the government has said that. That is what is confusing.
Maybe I can ask both of you gentlemen to comment on that, in fact.
Okay. See, the idea of having different rates for different commodities is because, consumption of different commodities have different ideologies. Some luxury goods which are there, they always attract higher rate of tax because government wants to tax them and reduce their consumption. Some products which are like necessary, like let's say medicines or agriculture products or basic necessities of life, they have to be kept at zero rate. Only then, most people would be able to afford them. So you see, governing such large geographical area plus so much of population, we require those kind of rates where we cater to all types of people, right from people who are in the lowest of the strata of the society to the highest of the strata of the society, and hence there are different rates which are proposed. In fact, the biggest myth that gets busted with GST is that a lot of people come back and tell me that, now earlier I was paying 14%, now suddenly I have to pay 28%. But they don't realize that the total burden of taxation on that commodity, if you add up your excise, your VAT and your cess, then it was going to 30%.
And there's definitely going to be a little bit of time before changes settle down. Mr. Salunkhe, have your members ever brought up this kind of a question with you, and how do you address it?
Yes, of course, various members have raised the question about the rates of the taxes. Particularly, we should keep in mind that this GST Council is headed by the various parts of the India. Each state is representing that GST Council. GST Council met 18 times. And they have done lot of thoroughly study and deep discussion. After that, they have decided to fix the rate of the GST taxes. Particularly now, after 6 months or 3 months, they will meet again and they will review the taxation system.
Okay. All right. Let's take in another query, and this is coming to us from Ramesh on SEZs. Ramesh?
Regarding SEZ, what is the procedure for SEZ now?
Okay, fair enough. Priyajit, can I come to you on that?
Yes.
How will companies in the SEZs be impacted, if at all?
So the SEZ remains fairly neutral, and they were not paying tax earlier. In fact, they are getting better off in certain states where they are asked to pay VAT on purchase of goods, especially the service SEZ. Now they are not supposed to pay any tax on their purchase, and whatever supply that they make in terms of export, that's going to get zero rated, which means they don't have to pay tax again. There is a requirement of bond or the letter of undertaking, which is to safeguard the interest of revenue. So pretty much it's a good news for SEZ. And earlier we had a list of services which they are entitled to buy without payment of service tax. Now it's practically all services that you can buy without payment of GST.
Sure.
Just one point I would want to highlight, just carrying forward from the earlier discussion, I see two challenges here in the whole rollout of GST, and I'm kind of a little shifting gear from what we've discussed so far. The first challenge could be the the understanding, the news, the whole bit of a knowledge around GST, and we've kind of gone through one situation where somebody was asking a question that he's paying GST on toll. Now, if you really look at toll is exempt from GST. So, as and when people get wise, as and when people get more aware of, those problems are something that we will see going off. But however, like what Mr. Salunkhe said, that all of us have to make an effort to educate, especially people who don't have access to a lot of information.
All right, let's then quickly bring in one last question before we wrap up this conversation. Tanuj has sent in this question, and I understand that he's in the textile and garment business. Tanuj, what's your question?
So my question is, where in garment industry they say GST is applicable at the rate of 12% if the sales value is above 1,000 rupees and 5% when the sale value is below 1,000 rupees. All right. So my question is, this 1,000 rupees which they are talking about, is this the price inclusive of GST or 1,000 rupees plus GST? What is the definition of this sales value where they are talking about this 1,000 rupees?
Okay, thanks for that question, Tanuj. Mr. Salunkhe, do you want to?
This GST will be a plus on 1,000 plus whatever it may be. But you know, the point is that the textile industry is an unrest industry currently. You can see that in Gujarat, most of the areas in Gujarat, they have closed down the offices, they closed down the factories, they closed down the the manufacturing unit. Even Coimbatore also we found. Particularly, government should focus and address this issue because of the textile. 1,000 rupees is very less amount actually. Very less amount in a textile, and people will not be happy to pay the 12% tax, and the common people will be affected for this tax. So I urge the government look at the textile industry, particularly the cottage industry type, where the government should reduce the taxes. And of course we are going to take up this matter with the government and the GST Council in this matter.
Okay, fair enough. We're running out of time, so I very quickly want to get closing comments. Let me start with you, Priyajit. Now that the compliance is going to become easier, now that really the profile of the industry, if I can call it that, of MSMEs is going to increase because everyone's going to become more compliant, it's going to become more organized. Do you expect to see more M&A coming in as far as MSMEs are concerned?
Yes, definitely. And as the transparency increases, the economy gets more formalized, you will have more people coming in and they can kind of consolidate business. And we'll see a lot of the potential that we've so far not even seen and data not being captured. So I guess there's more and more that's going to happen, and we need to watch this space for the next 2 to 3 years.
Sure. Vishal, Priyajit was talking about the economy. What is going to be the impact on the economy? Is it all positive going forward?
Okay. Now it's a mixed bag, So I was just talking about this earlier at a different place that depends on what kind of commodities you are buying will affect you. So if you are buying gold, let's say gold is going to become expensive, the smaller cars will become a little more expensive, the larger cars will become cheap. If you are buying a small house, it is going to become cheaper, a large home will cost you more. So it's a mixed bag, and the total impact, if we look at the plus commodities versus the minus commodities, even in the minus commodities the impact is between 3 to 9%. Okay, so highest being 9. Sure. And even if you talk about cost of doing business, yes, there is an increase in cost of doing business, but again the impact is 2 to 3%. But as against that, if you compare the benefits are huge.
Mr. Salunkhe, I want to let you have the last word through our show. What is the one message that you want to leave India's MSMEs with? What are the biggest advantages of this compliance, of this new tax?
See, this is a very good opportunity for Indian SMEs particularly to grow more. Second thing, compliances, because a lot of SMEs are not aware about the implementation of the taxes or to pay the taxes on time. So a third thing, we will be definitely coming under this 100 rank in ease of doing business. Because of the one tax regime, it will be definitely helpful to grow more, particularly to economic growth. Second thing, employment generation. when the SME will start utilizing the system, proper system, I'm sure that SME's growth will be there, turnover will be increased, and particularly a lot of SMEs are not approaching bank for a particular finance facility. They can officially go now. So these are the all type of facilities and advantages will be available for made available by Government of India, and hope let us take advantage of this facility.
All right. So the top line that we're taking away from this panel is that it's definitely going to make life much easier for companies and improve the ease of doing business. Mr. Salunkhe, Vishal, Priyajit, thank you all very much for being with us here tonight. If you're an MSME and you have any questions on any aspect of your business, including GST, we'll continue focusing on GST right here on the Leaders of Tomorrow going forward. Do remember, you can write in at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. On social media, you can tweet at us at LOT_ET now or at me personally at Sunanda_J. Reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET now, or call us on that number you see on your screen. We promise to have all your questions answered. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.